there, Grateful Gang. It's Lauren with Gratitude Addict and Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. And we have a very special guest with us tonight. Those of you that have been around for a while should be no stranger to my friend and mentor, Dr. Bruce Singer. Hey, Bruce.
Hi there. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks for being here. I was just telling him that, last week I had to cancel, as you all know, the topic being is the topic we're doing tonight. And so I've been prepared for this topic, thinking it was a good time for many reasons. And then I just thought, we haven't had Bruce on since I checked today. It was April 23rd or something like that, our episode 3.
Wow.
And today's episode 27.
A lot's happened.
A lot has happened in this year. It certainly has. So it's an honor having you here. We'll talk a little bit about it later. But for me, with our topic of dealing with letdown and building resilience, Bruce is definitely first and foremost who has helped me to figure out how to do that and continues to do so. So thank you all for joining me. If you're joining us, rather, if you're new to the broadcast, we're here every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are a live broadcast that's brought to you by the closed Facebook group, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. We proudly have 5,400 something members today. And
Awesome.
it's just a really great community. So if you're not a member of that and would like to join, we'd love to have you. But just the fact that you're watching, we have many that watch live and many that watch recorded too. We do have our recorded episodes on my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. Who knew? Which is YouTube Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. So I'm glad you're all here with us. Very, very glad. A couple things. I have a feeling, Bruce and I both have the feeling that this is going to be a very tight hour. Now that I stick to an hour, because I used to go one more. An hour is just best for everybody all the way around. I think I could do 5 episodes on this topic of building resilience, because there's a lot of need for it now. And I'm not just talking people with chronic pain and illness. Every human on this planet deals with letdown and having to deal with that and how to build resilience and not get into a deep, dark hole of, depression. I've been there. Many of us have been there. So I'm glad that you're here joining us. A lot has happened. Very exciting news in AOG world. Those of you that are a member of the group, see, we got a new logo.
Wow. Beautiful.
Which I worked very hard on with Jill Cook and the other moderators in the group. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoy it. We needed a makeover. The only prerequisite I had is that we needed to keep that O and of the sign of the universal symbol of gratitude, because Amy had come up with that. She helped me with that when she was alive for the last logo. So I really like it. We've gotten some good feedback. And of course, the all-important, what is Lauren wearing what shirt today? This is a new one that I got from my niece, McKenna. She spent her own money on this. Gratitude turns what we have into enough, which is a very famous quote. So thank you, McKenna, Miss Baby Mac, for thinking of me. And she actually got me 2 shirts. The last one I wore in my cancellation video last week, but I'll wear it again soon. So thank you all for being here. Let's see who we've got here quickly. And then I've got a cute little, just a positive video I want to show everybody before we get started into some of the topic. We're going to try to get as many of your questions, comments read and answered as we can. But, Bruce is always a big draw. Everybody loves having Dr. Singer here with us. And, lots of questions and comments. And we want to hear from you how you have dealt with your loss and being let down, and how you build resilience too. So we've got Karen Goldberg here with a new profile picture. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Bruce. So great to see you.
Hi, Karen.
Diana McGillivray-Brusso. Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Diana.
Hi there. Karen Hilliard. Hello,
Oh,
everyone.
Karen. Yeah.
Hi, McKenna, who gave me my shirt. We are all watching as usual. They all watch. They have this ginormous TV in their house, and they watch me on this ginormous TV. So I have to make sure, I don't know, that I look 51. I do 51. Sharon Bowens is here. Hi there. Oh, Clemmy. Sue Klimick is one of my sorority sisters. See, this is what I was telling you, Bruce. People just
all over.
So, Clemmy, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. She was in my wedding. Okay, somebody that didn't sign in, SU. Not sure what that is. The only thing I know of SU is not very nice. I'm going to pass that over. If you want to elaborate, please feel free to do so. If you're a member of Attitude of Gratitude with chronic pain, you've never been in this before, you have to sign in order for them to have permission to use your name. Linda Edwards, my lovely Linda. Hi, Lauren and Bruce.
Hey, Linda.
Linda Canalicchio. Hi, Lauren. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Dr. Bruce. I think, Bruce, you have a lot of these members in your group as well. My dad. Hi, honey and Bruce. Hey, Dad. And another Facebook user. Hi, Lauren and Dr. Bruce. Thank you all for being here. I know many of you will filter in the span of this next hour. So thank you for being here. Let me introduce Bruce first and tell you if you're new to us, and let me talk about Bruce first, and then I'll show the video. So if you didn't watch any of our past interviews over the years, Bruce was the head of the Chronic Pain and Recovery Program, the director of it at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan, Connecticut, where I was very gratefully a patient all the way back in 2013, Bruce.
Wow.
Yeah. I was at a rock bottom, big time. And I remember, Bruce, you saying to me when I met with you the first time, I said, I'm at rock bottom, I'm desperate. And you said, be careful of rock bottoms because there's always trap doors.
Right.
I'll never forget that. And I didn't know what you meant until I really thought about it. And so I knew I had to be on my game. So he, for the span of the month, he and the rest of my comrades in the program worked on building resilience. Nobody goes into a program like that flying in on the wings of victory. I always say, usually there's something wrong. Your family's fed up with you. You've developed an addiction problem. With me, it was alcohol. So, you're kind of desperate. It wasn't covered under insurance. So you're kind of desperate to go there, but it was the best month. I wouldn't have said that at the time I got there, but
you were a lot like this at first.
Was I? I was so scared. I'm like, how did I get here? But I figured
it took a while for the gratitude to hit you, like the light bulb to go off.
Well, I am very grateful. My sister found the program for me. In fact, I think she even talked to you, Bruce. I was humiliated, and it was just a really rough time. But I look at today and how different my life is, 7.5 years later, and it's miles different. In fact, I had to go through that to get to this beautiful life. My second chance at life. I was given a second chance. So Bruce had a lot to do with that.
Is it just to jump in for 2 seconds?
Sure.
It's funny. You describe yourself as hitting rock bottom and the shame and humiliation of going to a treatment center, any treatment center. And I won't even make this specific to you, but it's just my experience. It's so many people come in feeling that way. And yet I'm always sitting there with nothing but respect for the person sitting across from me, because they had the strength of character to come in to get help, to recognize they needed it, even if it's not the number one thing that they wanted to do in their life. But there's so many people out there who aren't coming in, who aren't getting the help, who are continuing to live in the problem rather than the solution. So see, I understood the shame and the guilt and the rock bottom, but I never saw anyone as less than whole from the very beginning. It was just my job, or the job of the people I worked with, to help sort of bring that out in the person, bring out their essential health and wholeness. And if we could help them do that, then that was a win for us. So,
and I saw that, and I respected that, and wondered why does everybody not think that I'm the biggest dirtbag on the planet? But that was all on me. You know, my family. I'm lucky to have a family that wanted to get me help. I didn't really have a leg to stand on. I can't say I was jumping up and down for joy. But when they told me about this program, I said, okay, I will try. And I figured once I got there, I'm in it to win it, you know, and I wanted to get as much out of it as I could, and I most certainly did. Yeah. So let me read Bruce's bio to you real quickly for those of you that haven't had the pleasure to meet him yet. I'll just read a few of these things. He's a psychologist and outspoken patient advocate whose compassion, humor, intelligence, and spirituality have helped empower thousands of people around the world recover from pain and addiction. He created and directed the Chronic Pain and Recovery Center at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan, Connecticut, which sadly is no longer there. Yeah. There are very few programs like that anymore, which is another reason why I feel so grateful I got to go to one.
That's a whole other show.
Yeah, it is. He sits on the medical advisory board to the U.S. Pain Foundation, is a board member of Chronic Pain Anonymous. He has his own Facebook group called, I'll show you, I put it in a banner so you guys could write it down here. Here's the Facebook group, Black Duck Moments Every Day. And
I think it's Black Duck Moments for Recovery.
You're right. Every day's the book.
Right.
And the Facebook group is Black Duck Moments for Recovery.
For recovery, right.
Yes. But if you go to blackduckmoments.com, the website will be much more clear than I just was on how to get to all of those things. But this is a daily affirmation book he wrote. We actually started writing our books at the same time, and his has been out for a couple of years, and mine is still to come out. But it's a beautiful book with wonderful affirmations for people with chronic pain and chronic illness. So go to blackduckmoments.com, check out his Facebook group. And now he does freelance work, and you've got your hands in a lot of different avenues right now, don't you?
I mean, I'm based here in Connecticut, but I've gone around the world to help people, and I may be, I'm always consulting here and consulting there. I do want to say that if people do go to blackduckmoments.com, there is a free ebook that they can download. It's sort of a 2-week self-help book. And I think it captures a lot of what I teach and the philosophy, and that's just free on the website.
Yeah.
And there are other things. There are a lot of little Black Duck Moments, little short 1-minute videos. You can look there on all sorts of topics. Did you
put one of your meditations on AOG today?
Did you notice that? Thank you. No, I didn't notice that.
I made that our breath break today. The one, it was technically for headaches, but it said mindfulness and relaxation, I think.
Yeah.
And the book is especially great because of this quote by me, the Gratitude Addict, and maybe a quote or two too. Seriously, it's a wonderful book. I highly recommend you get it.
Well, I actually want to read because we're going to talk about sort of resilience, and it's just 1 week ago in the book was the theme of resilience. So it was November 5th. This is the 12th. So it's not that far away. And I know people do read the book every day, and they probably read that section, but for others who haven't, it's fairly timely. And
great.
I'm not having to reach back into October or September for resilience. So can we start by?
Absolutely.
You have your video though.
Read that first. It'll be a good way to start, I think.
Okay, because it's an affirmation and a reflection, so it's always a good way to start any kind of gathering like this. So this actually is from November 5th on resilience, and each day in the book has a theme, and there are actually about 90 themes that repeat 4 times. So 90 times 4 is 360. So that was almost 365 days or 366 days. There's a few extra ones. But resilience repeats several times in the book. November 5th, and each day also has a quote and then a reflection sort of tied into the quote. And the quote today is a Japanese proverb, which I'm sure some of you have heard, and they probably have made t-shirts out of it. And it's fall 7 times, stand up 8. Japanese proverb. No one promised us a perfect life, or for that matter, a perfect day. And what we might come to define as an ideal day may seem odd to those around us. Waking up from a good night's sleep, having a 4/10 pain level day, being awake for breakfast and dinner. These might be our markers, and if our small victories don't seem like much to others, that's not our fault. Those wins mean the world to us. Life has done everything it can to beat us down. We've fallen and fallen again, and then fallen some more. But this has taught us the depth of our resilience. We know that if we lie there and do nothing, we become victims of learned helplessness, and our sufferings multiply. We know that getting back up is important, but it's not the only thing. Wisdom has taught us that it's how quickly we stand up that matters. Resilience is the ability to spring back, to adapt and recover. It requires toughness and flexibility. When we're resilient, we take an awful year. 2020's got to count right up there as one of the more awful years in my life, and I've lived a long time, and turn it into a lousy month. And then take that lousy month and squeeze it into a bad week. And if we can turn that bad week into a so-so day, and that so-so day into a pretty good hour, then we will have used our resilience to create an imperfectly perfect day. And each day, thank you. And then, sometimes I go back and I read these. I said this, I was reading these for, I guess from maybe April, May into June. I read one of these every day in my group, and they're all still available in the Black Duck Moments for Recovery on Facebook. So there were 90 separate readings that I did. And
I tuned in just about every day. It was great.
Yeah, you did. And you go back and you read some of these and you forget that you wrote them. I forget that, did I write that? And this particular one really resonates. I liked it. So the affirmation for today. Today, I acknowledge that I am a person with resilience. My body may be stiff, but I am flexible in my spirit. If I stumble, my black ducks will catch me. Today, I will fall 7 times, but I will stand up 8.
Love it.
There we go.
Love it. For those of you that don't know what black ducks are, and I'll just talk about black duck. Do you want to tell the story quickly, or do you want me to just sum it up?
Let's just say that if we accept that there are a lot more white ducks than black ducks, and we're very much more familiar with the white ducks of the world, and the white ducks of the world are our suffering, our pain, our depression, our anxiety, our fears, our doubts, our losses, our grief. Those are our white ducks, and we're very familiar with them, and they're all around us. But sometimes they keep us from seeing that they are not the only ducks. There are black ducks as well. And the black ducks are the exceptions, the moments when we're watching a movie or a TV show and we're so caught up in it that we forget we have pain. When we're laughing, I sent some little videos to Lauren earlier today, and just to make her laugh. And when we're laughing, we're not thinking about our pain, or when we're connecting with others or living our lives in a meaningful, purposeful way. All these things are our black ducks. And our job is to become a farmer for these black ducks, to raise these ducks up into beautiful, bigger ducks, and really to have these kind of black duck moments, to recognize them, to discover them, to seek them out, to let them seek us out, and use them to balance the pain and the suffering that we feel from a chronic condition of any kind. So that's what a black duck is in a black duck moment.
Yeah. And I remember clearly after you told us that story, and my roommate Jackie and I got along great, and she was making me laugh one night when we were going to bed, and I was laughing so hard and I did forget about my pain. And I know there's been many, many other moments in my life where I had, but I just wasn't aware of them. So I'll never forget my first like official black duck moment. But yeah, it's those times where, we tend to think, those of us that live with physical pain, or even emotional too, actually, you think you're in pain 24/7. You have your condition 24/7, but there are times where you forget about your pain. And I know, Bruce, you always say, I would argue then that you're not in pain if you've forgotten about it, just for that brief moment, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of lies that we tell ourselves, a lot of propaganda about our helplessness. And one of them being, I'm in pain constantly, or my back is killing me, or my head is killing me. And when you engage in that kind of figurative language all the time, you do a disservice to yourself and to the experiences that you can have in this world, even in a year like this. Lauren and I were talking before just about the personal losses this year. And I personally experienced so many losses over the last year, starting just about this time a year ago. And it just seems like, can there be one more thing? It's enough to lose a job, and then a parent, and then your favorite kitty cat that was 15 years old, and then another job, and then there's a pandemic. Where did that come from? And it just goes on and on and on like that.
Yeah.
And then you lose people to illness, and then you lose the ability to even just hug another human being.
Oh, I know.
So there's so many losses, and that's what I want to talk about, and maybe today offer a few suggestions on how we can approach this coming holiday season, because it's going to be unlike any other holiday season, and it's going to be one that is going to have the winds of loss behind it this year, and the winds of change, and the winds of confusion and overwhelming factors that are beyond our control. And so I've got a few suggestions, but I don't want to step on your video anymore.
No, yeah.
So
it's very quick, but I don't know what made me go on to Instagram, because I'm hardly ever on there. But there's a site called Lightworkers, which is always like very uplifting and happy videos. And I saw this when I was drying my hair earlier, and I was bawling my eyes out. So let me show it to you guys, just to start on a happy note, and know that there's some good in this world, which of course we know, but sometimes it's good to be reminded. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, see this cute little guy? Here we go. It says, you will want to see this kid's reaction when his foster parents break the news of his adoption. Here we go. It was a picture of the family with him in it, and I guess on the back they wrote that they were adopting him. All right. I just wanted to start with that. There's two others, but I don't want to take much more away, and I don't know if it really translated because it was in a very small screen, but just that just for him, that his face lighting up when he finds out he's being adopted by his foster family just made me so happy. As far as this topic, I've had this topic. I have a list of topics that I want to do, and I'm constantly adding to it. And sometimes I redo topics because what we talked about several months ago can be completely different doing it the same way now based on what's happening. So I picked last week, which is when we were supposed to do it, on dealing with letdown, because without talking politics, because we don't talk politics, it's just not a smart way to go with what we're trying to accomplish here. I knew that somewhere around half the country was going to be disappointed because I figured it's Thursday. By Thursday, we're going to know who the president is. But we didn't. We found out this week, and now we know. But so that's what put the idea in my head. But I was thinking from aspect of, and this is not exclusive to chronic pain and chronic illness at all. Every human being deals with disappointment, like Bruce was saying, being let down in one way. I have a story that just happened very recently where some of you know that, oops, I need to make this big, that I've had some neurological issues that have popped up the past 2 years or so. And I've gone from doctor to doctor, like so many of us have, and nobody really knows what's going on. And I got into the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and it was like a dream come true. Imagine that, your dream come true, being able to go to the Mayo Clinic. But as paperwork had to go in and departments, they assemble a team to work with you and all that. And now they are COVID laden and not even, they are overstretched to the boundaries, and critical patients are being sent away to other hospitals. So for now, my trip to Mayo is on hold. So I was disappointed. I won't lie. I was disappointed, but I know it's there. I know that, eventually I'll have, I always wanted Dr. House, that TV show, Dr. House, to look at everything and try to figure out what's wrong, because, I feel like I'm doing everything right, as so many of us do, going to all sorts of doctors, and some things that are happening with me that are very troublesome to me and my family. So that really kind of stunk. But then I got some good news the next day. So that was good. But that was just a very small example of being let down. We get let down by, new treatments that we've got high hopes for that maybe don't work, new doctors, blood work. And that's just chronic pain and illness. People, everybody deals with stuff like that. Maybe you had a breakup. I lost my best friend. I was telling Bruce earlier, just so much this year has dealt with being let down. So I wanted to give people an opportunity to find out how can we build our resilience. And I think it was a blessing in disguise that I was too sick to do the episode last year, because I can't think of anybody better to help us with some of those answers than you, Bruce. So maybe you want to start with some of your ideas.
Sure. Well, I mentioned that I in thinking about the show, could I put together maybe 5 easy to remember, easy to write down little suggestions as we get toward the end of the year? Because the end of the year is a time of holidays and gatherings typically, and festivities, a time also of reflection on how the year went. And I think we're faced with such an unusual year this year, and with so many challenges, so much that's been stripped away from us, that the challenge is how to make life more meaningful under these conditions. So we may not have, as I was saying to Lauren earlier, those kind of secret Santa exchanges or the ugly sweater parties. Those things just may not occur this year.
Thanksgiving with your families.
That's right. And I know I'm bypassing that this year.
Yeah.
But we can still make this year meaningful. We can still find a way to connect to our own faith, our own spirituality, and we can, our own religion, whatever that may be. We can find a way to connect to our families, even in the face of all this loss. So I think the first suggestion is make this year meaningful. End the year on a more meaningful note. Accept the loss, accept the grieving that's been with this year, accept that so much of what's going on in the world is out of our control. And if we can come into acceptance around that, then we can move into a place of meaningfulness. So how can you make new meaning? And maybe it's a good thing that there aren't the ugly sweater parties, because maybe if we get rid of all that kind of like running around to the malls and trying to buy our way into happiness, and we strip that away, we can see what's essential for us and really understand what true, deep, inside out happiness is. So that's
such a good point. That's a great point. We lose the commercialism and really get to the heart of what that is important to us. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I can give you a second suggestion, or maybe people have comments.
Yeah, there are a few comments. Let me get to those before. Sometimes I get so far behind on them, and then
we'll get all 5 in.
Then
go to the bitter end.
I won't know what the person's commenting about. Seaton says hello, you two. Hi, Seaton.
Hi, Seaton.
Caddy's here. I love this. I already hit Seaton. Sorry. Let's see. Linda Canalicchio. Thank you, Dr. Bruce, for explaining white and black ducks. I never heard this before. So encouraging. You can read the full story in his book and on his blackduckmoments.com website and his Facebook page, Black Duck Moments for Recovery. Got it right. We have Diane Hayter with us. Hey there. I'm having a strong reaction after living in severe chronic pain and exhaustion for 31 years. Since I became a born-again Christian and have a life and intimate relationship with Christ, I'm a different person. Pain is background noise. I changed my diet, surrendered everything at the cross, and experienced joy every day. Depression is gone. This video doesn't sound hopeful to me at all. Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. I
mean, I think the concept of surrendering rather than fighting is a great coping skill, and in that way, I'm all about hope with you.
Sure, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I think that often we chase after a lot of fixes, and that can leave us feeling like there is no hope. And so for myself, where I come from, it's all about concepts like surrender, like acceptance, like self-compassion, because our joy will come from those things. And if you're finding connection through a connection with God as you know it, that leads sort of right to my second suggestion.
Great, go for it.
Which is that there's never been a better time than right now to reach out and make connections. It could be with people you haven't heard from in a long time. Honest to God, I mean, as you talk about things being like kismet, falling into place. I got in my car the other day and phone rings, and I don't recognize the number, but I'm the person who's always a sucker for this robocalls. So I answer the phone, and it's a friend of mine who I have known since 1976, but we haven't talked in a long time. She just moved from California to Connecticut. I had no idea that she'd done this. She called me out of the blue, and we talked for the next hour, and it was wonderful. And that was one of the best things that happened to me all week. And it's that kind of connection. That can be a connection with people you haven't heard from in a long time, and encouraging them to share their story with you, as much as you sharing your story with them. Or it can be a connection with a higher power, with God, with the universe, with nature. I spent much of this year doing gardening, which was never a hobby of mine. But of course, with COVID and sort of being locked at home, I just began to garden and I became like a gardening maniac. So it was a new hobby, which gave more meaning to my life. And I raised little sunflowers. I mean, well, they became big sunflowers, but they started as seeds. And then they were little tiny germinating stalks, and then bigger pots, and then into the ground. And some of them grew to be 10 feet tall. And I've taken photos of them. And I love the photos that I've taken of them. And then I watch them now wither and get eaten and die and fade away, and it's that life cycle. But now I have something to look forward to for next year.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about hope, which is I want to plant more seeds, 10 times as many seeds, and grow 10 times as many sunflowers, and take 10 times as many photographs.
That's how Rob and I were with our tomatoes this year. We got really into our tomato plants, and now we're already planting next year. We had so much fun with it.
And, I paced it because there were times where going out and gardening was really painful, to bend down, to be in those positions, the digging. And so I did a little bit every day, but a little bit every day over the course of the summer led to beautiful gardens. And so that's one way. But again, I just want to reiterate the importance of, in this time of year, your resilience can come in part from making deeper connections. The most important thing we can do as human beings is make connections, is create deeper connectivity with us. Everything we use, even this instrument of computers and screens, it can bring us together, but it can keep us separate. And so if we can find a way to somehow reach each other through that screen or through a phone call, or even just standing next to your neighbor's property and talking across the fence so you can make a connection, I think that's essential.
I agree. A couple episodes ago, I did a episode on connection and community. And of course, being, the founder of Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain and everything that we do and how we've grown, I'm a very strong advocate. We offer a couple live chats each week where you can vent about whatever you want. The actual page is for positive inspiration only, but we know that it's a normal thing. We need to talk about our pain and be honest and share with others what's going on, and we do kind of form a family, so to speak. So seeing everybody, especially was it yesterday? I think one of our members, Karen Goldberg, was saying that, it just means so much to her to have that outlet and that connection. It's important. Yeah. And we don't even have to talk about pain. I mean, we usually do, but we could, I bought this popcorn popper last week based on what somebody said in the live chat. It's just that underlying understanding that we understand each other's emotional pain and we get it. And, prior to the pandemic, we were kind of losing touch with each other. Kids are like dating over text message and just not necessarily connecting, and everything's on social media, and everybody's so brave behind the computer to say what's really on their mind, but they would never say it in person. But I am grateful for it in this time of COVID for us to keep our connections, because I feel if we don't keep our connections, I could easily spiral down into that dark hole that I once was in.
Right. And that sense of being alone is just the worst feeling. And in my Facebook group, the Black Duck Moments for Recovery, we call it Black Duck Farm, and the members, we call them farmers, and they're from all over the world, but they're connected. We're connected by this concept of support and sharing. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's beautiful, a lot of times beautiful photographs. Sometimes it's very sad stories, sometimes hopeful. And I think it's a means to create that connection that we all crave, and we're all craving, especially at this time, when we feel that our hopes were crushed because, in the world of politics, because the other party won, or why aren't people seeing things the way we see things? And there's so much sort of tribalism and disconnection and us against them that I think it's the task of humanity right now to find ways to reconnect. So I'll stop at that.
And we're all being very creative in that way too, which is great. Yeah. We've been using Zoom for our live chats for a few years now, and it's funny, once nobody heard of Zoom and then the pandemic hit, boom, now they're like this, huge company. Elvis, you're at least on my end, your video has gotten very grainy. I'm not sure why. It wasn't in the beginning. I'm not sure what you can do about it. It's still fine, but just wanted to let you know.
I'll sit a little closer. Maybe a little bit more light will help.
Okay. When I was supposed to do this topic last week, I gave an assignment to my nieces and nephew, if they wanted to do it, I wanted to hear what being let down was like in their world. They're teenagers or preteens, in their world, and how they build resilience. Because I think sometimes through the eyes of younger people, they don't overcomplicate things like sometimes we adults do. So I see my niece Campbell, otherwise known as Soupy, has given us one here. She says, a letdown for people without chronic pain specifically. I've been playing basketball for 3 years now, and last year I finally became the captain of my middle school basketball team. Yay! I had spent hours practicing, watching games, and learning plays to get that spot, and finally I did. We were preparing for our travel tournament. We were meant to travel to Serbia, but since it was February 2020, it got canceled due to COVID. I felt let down because we had only gotten 4 games in the season that... Looks like there's more to come. The rest of it didn't come through, Campbell, if you want to send it, but that's perfect example. Everybody's got things like that, and she's always so tuned in with
well, I mean, this goes to another one of my points I can bring up, which is this is the time of year where we can do an evaluation, a little year-end review. Like sometimes when we get older, we do life reviews, and we look back on our lives, and we can look back on this year and evaluate the highs and lows, what you've lost and what you've gained. I mean, I guess that was your niece, and was that your niece? And she worked so hard to get to this high place, and then it's taken away, and now you feel this low.
Yeah.
And so what's the tonic for that? How do you deal with that? And that's where I think the concept of gratitude comes in. Can we end this year? Can we bring into our evaluation gratitude for what you have gone through and what you can take from it, and what are the lessons, and what could you celebrate, even if the games were cut short or you couldn't get to go across the ocean to a different country? There's still so much you can celebrate, even with the losses. If you can accept the lows, then you can also embrace the highs, and you can begin to shift your perspective. So there is so much that you can still be grateful for. You're still a young person. There'll be more basketball games in the future. There'll be
now she's doing soccer, kicking butt in soccer.
There you go. So I just think that this suggestion is practice gratitude in all things. I'm preaching to the choir here, of course, but it is always good to say it again, say it one more time. So take the time to evaluate the highs and lows this year. Bring in acceptance around it. Look at what you've lost, but also shift that attention a little bit to what you've gained this year. And then bring gratitude into your life. So that's
and sometimes the big things seem much bigger than the good things, and we need to kind of try to train our mind. That's what Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain was actually made for. It was I couldn't find a chronic pain group on Facebook. This is going back like 6 years ago that really had anything inspiring. And I know what the bad parts are. And I belong to groups where I can share, about various different things going on with me. But I just wanted a place I could escape that once in a while. And that's what AOG turned out to be. And so I think it's helpful. And our mission statement really is kind of, like you said, looking for the good, trying to make the best out of a situation, which kind of stinks. Not kind of, it does stink.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy, but when we train our brain to kind of try to move gratitude to the forefront, I think you taught me this, move gratitude to the forefront, and eventually one of the things we do in the group is later on in the evening, at least my time, we do 3 things that you did well today. And that's to kind of get rid of some of the bad things that maybe happened to you that you don't like so much. It's trying to end the day on maybe a positive note.
Look, we all use this social media, and it's very easy to get sucked into the social media world and addictively look at your phone and wait for the likes and send out the tweets and read the tweets and just constantly in this loop of doing all that. And I know for myself, because it was such a political year, I found myself sort of sucked into the reading all the news stories and the watching the videos, and everyone's angrier and angrier and ratcheting it up. And I finally said, there's 2 things that I've really enjoyed doing this year. In the midst of all the loss, all the constraints, all the constrictions, all the tough, really tough stuff, the lows of this year, I've enjoyed the gardening, which has allowed me to take photographs of flowers, especially sunflowers. And I've enjoyed driving around my area of Connecticut and taking photographs of cows and barns and old barns and fields and stone walls and fences. And so I looked around Facebook and I found that there was a huge group of people who take photographs and share photographs of old barns,
really,
and fields and houses, and I'm with hundreds of thousands of people in this group. And then there's another group dedicated to people who are just obsessed with sunflowers. And you know what? I joined those groups.
Cool.
And now, rather than focusing on the depressing aspects of politics all the time, I'm like, sharing pictures of sunflowers, and people are sharing their pictures of sunflowers in old barns around the mills and castles and churches around the world and around the country. And it's just such a different Facebook experience than the same old, haranguing politics that was sort of driving me a little bit crazy. Yeah. So just a thought, and I want to bring this into the larger point of this suggestion that I talked with you about, which I called right-sizing your traditions, making new traditions, making new habits, trying something different, recognizing where you're stuck or where an old habit is leading you into unhappiness, and saying, what do I really enjoy? How can I make a new tradition out of what I enjoy? How can I make a new experience out of what I enjoy? And it's very easy to do. To me, it was 2 clicks on Facebook, and I joined these groups, and and it's changed perspective. So the tendency is to do too much at this time of year, and I would just ask everyone, do less. Less is more.
Yeah.
Do one special thing is worth a dozen meaningless things. One special tradition you can create or partake in this holiday is so much more important than doing 15 meaningless, running around like a chicken with its head cut off kind of things where you end up resenting the holidays. How do you get back to those things that bring you joy? And so that leads to the 5th point, because I know we're going to run out of time and there
I
may be
can't
more
believe
comments.
it. Did I tell you we would need 5 episodes for this topic?
So
But
I want to get
please,
that
go
fifth
ahead.
point in, okay? Which is, and I made you laugh at this because I say, during this pandemic, there are sort of 3 states we've all ended up in. You either become a hunk, a chunk, or a drunk. And I've probably been all 3 at any one of these times. Right?
I'm not a drunk anymore.
No, but you can be better than you've been. You can end the year with hope. You can be the one who lights a candle. You can be the one who takes joy in the candle that someone else lights. You can champion something to give to another. The 12th step, when you work steps in AA or NA or Chronic Pain Anonymous, is all about the concept of giving back. And this is a year where so many have lost so much financially, their houses, their family members, their jobs, there have been, their freedoms. There's so much lost this year. How can we end the year with just a little bit of a gain? And that may be reaching out and helping another. Paying something forward will give you something in return. Right. So a moment of help to another is a way that you can end the year with hope. And
it's also a black duck moment, because when I find when I'm helping somebody else, I forget about my own pain.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I want to get a couple of these comments in because I haven't for a while. We have Vicki Blackburn's here. Hi, Vicki. She says, thank you. I needed human connection and have found it with the 2 of you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. That makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
I'm finding this very helpful and uplifting. Thanks so much, Lauren and Dr. Singer. Seaton says, I've resumed reading to my mother over the phone from a devotional I began reading to her in person when she was in the hospital 3 years ago. That's nice.
What a beautiful way to create connection, and to really just to deepen that connection. It's more than just checking in and saying, hey, did you pick up the groceries at the store today? It's really taking you each to a spiritual place. And so I think that's beautiful.
Yep.
Thank you.
Here's another niece. They're twin nieces. They both commented here. This is Lindsay. I often feel let down by myself. That's a good point, Lindsay. We do let ourselves down. When I started thinking about this topic, I think we feel let down by others, but you're right. We're our own worst critics and let ourselves down. Being a perfectionist, I beat myself up and I always have high expectations. I have to remind myself that some things are out of my control and not my fault. Right.
I'm looking around because I was looking for my little bowl, which I don't know where I've placed it. But Lindsay, there's a concept in Japan called wabi-sabi, which is that everything is imperfect. And if you can see the beauty in imperfection, they take a bowl and the ceramicists break that bowl. And then they put it back together, and they put it back together with gold, like instead of blue, with gold. And so the gold highlights all the broken parts of the bowl. All the imperfections are the most valuable part of that bowl. So I think striving for perfection, and I was certainly a person who was a perfectionist and still am in some ways. Mm-hmm. But I think we will end up risking overly being overly self-judgmental and self-critical, and that takes away from your joy and happiness. So leave the perfection aside a little bit. It's okay to screw up and be imperfect. You're more beautiful for being imperfect.
Yeah, perfectly imperfect. Yeah. Very, very human. And that's why I like to do these episodes live, and I never edit them, because all my imperfections, I let them all hang out, because that's real life.
You're looking perfect to me tonight.
Thank you. McKenna is her twin sister and says, if I get let down, like not getting the role I want in a play, I think of the other person. They might deserve it more than I do, and I just have to realize that, distract myself, and move on.
Right.
McKenna, that's beautiful. Okay. Campbell, oh, here's Campbell's second part from earlier. How I dealt with that being let specific instance is that I put my issues in perspective. That's great, Campbell. I did not have it the worst and was lucky to have gotten the captain spot at all. And remembering that I was more fortunate than most kept me going.
Right.
Beautiful, Soupy. And Lindsay says, in order to try and get back up from being let down, I honestly just shower. Me too. I did 2 days in a row. I did it. I know it doesn't make problems go away, but it makes me feel better and think things through without getting overwhelmed.
I get my best ideas in the shower, so.
I don't get any ideas in the shower, but I need a shower. Linda Canalicchio says, look for them black ducks. Right, Dr. Bruce?
Yeah, they're all around you.
Lindsay says, I once took an online course called Go Zen to be more positive. It said that for every bad thing you have, you need 3 good things to rule it out. This feels very true, and I try to remember this. Maybe that's where that exercise of mine came from. I know I didn't make it up, the 3 good things you did today. I think I got it from Sheryl Sandberg's book after she lost her husband suddenly. She wasn't into the gratitude thing, but she did. Her therapist told her to do that, and I thought we'd incorporate that also.
And of course, I always talk to people about do a 1-week gratitude log, 3 unique gratitudes, write them down every night. So you'll have 21 unique gratitudes at the end of a week, and stop right there. Even if you stop at the end of that week with 21 unique gratitudes, you will continue to get happier for the rest of the month.
Isn't that what Robert Emmons found?
This is Robert Emmons' work, yeah.
Robert Emmons is like the godfather of
gratitude.
Of gratitude, yeah. He's one of my dream. He actually wrote in Dr. Bruce's book.
Yeah, he did the intro to my book. It won't make your pain go away, but it can make you happier. And I think we all can use just a little bit more, 10% happier. So. Yep.
Perfection is boring. Climmy, 4 hearts. I'm so glad you tuned in tonight, Climmy. I hope you come back. Seaton says perfection's tiring, and says I have amazing nieces, which I do, and very wise young ladies.
Yes.
So I can't believe we've done an hour already. But before we end, I put another. My nieces made my opening, which I've been using for a couple of months now, and I absolutely love it. My best friend from college, Caddy, who's on here tonight, her kids love to do artwork. And I said, I could really use like a good night or like a thank you end screen, because I sit there. It takes a while for when I hit end broadcast, I'm sitting here going like with strange look on my face, waiting for it to end. So I'm like, I could use, an artistic thing. So I put it to her kids, and I think Tanner is still working on one. Here's, I can share the screen here real quick. Tanner and Hayden. Can you see this? This is Hayden. And this is her with her brother, Tanner. And so Caddy said that Hayden made me one. So I just wanted to put that out there before I let everybody go. But thank you all so much. We're going to have to revisit this subject a lot because I know there's so much we didn't get to. But Bruce, thank you so much for being here.
It flew by, and it was my pleasure. I think you do a great service with your Facebook group, with everything you do about gratitude. You're a real leader in this, and it's always a pleasure to be on one of these shows, I guess we could call them, and to follow you on Facebook. So thank you so much for having me.
It means a whole lot coming from you, and I know you know that. So thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great week. Oh, wait, sorry. Next week, we've got another special guest next week, Ariana Katiri, who is a member of our group, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. She's going to be sharing on for the whole hour, sharing her story. It's a very raw and beautiful story that will definitely make you think a lot. And it pretty much focuses on resilience. So we haven't named it yet, but she's agreed to be on live with me next week. So make sure you tune in. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Peace and love. And let's get this new from new ending from Hayden. Where is it? Here we go. It's got the gratitude symbol on it. Bye, gang. Love you all.